Well, this morning's sessions have already looked at what will it take to attract patient capital at the scale at which we hope. And one of the things we spoke about is the sort of ecosystems and underpinning infrastructure that will be necessary for those private investments. And we are now moving to political and institutional finance backing for those sort of strategies. We have Prime Minister of Montenegro with us, Milojko Spajić. Under his leadership, Montenegro really is racing ahead in the EU integration process. It's also undertaking a very ambitious economic reform agenda, and it is looking to position itself as the most dynamic investment destination in the region. And we have Mr. John Jovanović, President and Chairman of Export-Import Bank of US, who comes to that position with both wealth of experience in the private sector, in energy and infrastructure projects, but also government experience, and in that context, some linked to the region. You now had an institution that is advancing work to promote US competitiveness, energy security. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Prime Minister, could I start with you, please? And I refer to Montenegro's EU trajectory. We were talking a lot about, or referring to geopolitics this morning. The global map and European map has been redrafted, really, and we've witnessed that in the last years. And when it comes to Montenegro, country is taking some clear choices, member state of NATO, now advancing in the EU integration process. And how do you see these political commitments translating into economic investments? And what would be your message to investors here in the room today?
Thanks a lot first for the fantastic intro, actually. And you pointed out saying that what it takes to attract the patient capital, which is very important. It's an interesting keyword. And the second one is a capital that prices the risk properly and according to the real situation. So, people who are not accustomed to the finance world, they think every money is the same. It's not. We need patient money, we need clean money, and we need the money that can price the risk properly. And we think that Montenegro has a lot to offer. And obviously we are trying, when I say pricing the risk properly, what we try to do also is to de-risk the country from the perspective of the investors. Being a NATO member is a huge thing and helped us a lot, not only in the image terms, but also in the concrete and tangible terms, with the Russian aggression in Ukraine and other instabilities around the world. It really adds to the point that being a NATO member is a huge plus, not only for the security, but also for the economy and for the capital to feel preserved, to be safe. Secondly, obviously, European Union is where we think we belong and that we are headed towards. And, European Union is also place of values where the rule of law, democracy, and other values are respected. So that's one pillar. Second pillar is the single market. So whenever I go in Davos and other opportunities, I meet the investors. They ask, "Are you 500,000 or 500 million market?" And that's exactly 1,000 times the difference. So the market size in the world that we live in a very fractured world, in a world where it matters that you are part of the bigger market and that you don't have barriers with the other economies around you, especially the economies around you. And there's a lot of reshoring and a lot of things of that sort going on. So it's very important that you capture some of that value and that you become part of the bigger puzzle. And there is, obviously, through all of these frameworks, there is the relationship, the bilateral relationship that has been underpinning, that is to a big extent, a security guarantor of Montenegro's independence and prosperity, that is the relationship with the United States. And that has been some of the added values that Montenegro was politically gaining in the past. But now I think is a perfect time that we gain economically as well, that we connect two of our countries at much deeper levels. We get the highest institutional and the government-linked investments from United States to Montenegro. That would also be a great signal to the markets around the world that Montenegro really means business. And Montenegro is a safe place that respects rule of law, and that is a place that you can earn good and healthy returns on your investment. And I think, frankly spoken, I think Montenegro has been mispriced for a long time, for various reasons, obviously. But some of them are substantial reasons. Some of them are not. They're more like a perception or gimmicks. But I think we are removing both substantial and the perceptive reasons why somebody shouldn't invest in Montenegro. We have successfully battled the corruption and organized crime groups. I think now Montenegro is, EBAR in 2020 or IBAR in interim benchmarks have proven, give a testimony, is a living testimony of such a thing, but also all kinds of moves that be made in terms of AML laws, in terms of strengthening judicially and police system and other security forces, increased the perception of Montenegro as a place of rule of law and safety and security. And I think this is the image that is increasingly going to attract investors that are in this uncertain world looking for safe haven, looking for a place where they can deploy capital, not to be overcharged by taxes, very importantly, but also is important that Montenegro is picking the capital that it wants to attract. That is the key word.
Yeah. No, I mean, this morning, a couple of times speakers referred to country needing a vision rather than sales pitches and, talking up its natural beauties. And this does sound like a thought through, compelling vision. I might add that you're looking to set up an arbitration center in Montenegro to make it even more investor friendly through a tool that will be more expedient, efficient, and priced right.
Exactly. That is like, oftentimes we have done a lot to fix judiciary or to have proper people in proper places in leadership positions within the judiciary, and to be fully independent and to be supported by the executive power in a sense of like enabling them, but like completely leaving them out of the politics and of all of other combinations and letting them do their job. And that's what's happening now. But it takes time to build the confidence. The quick fix that we came up with was, until the commercial court and other courts pick up, the speed, the quick fix is arbitration court.
Yeah.
And that's many countries have done that. You have Singapore that has done it, like many European Union member states as well.
Of course.
So the arbitrage court is not going to replace anything. It will be a complement to the system. And this is what we are trying to kind of instill the confidence in a quick dispute resolution mechanism that will help investors to feel their worries will be tackled quickly and they will have finality of decision very soon, within 6 months. And this is something that I think is very important, especially having some of the judges that will be coming out of places like UK, France, and other places, that have very well developed, United States, why not? That have very well developed the judicial network, and that can help us build this institution from the scratch.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Jovanović, I'm sure that everyone in this room knows of EXIM, of your significance in global finance, but perhaps not in detail, simply because we haven't had a chance to see EXIM in action up and close in the region to that extent. So, and there might be an opportunity for the region at this point in time? And perhaps you could tell us, why is there interest in the region, and what opportunity are you recognizing that region might want to, not just Montenegro, obviously, with Montenegro, you're advancing discussions, but other countries in the region might want to exploit?
Sure. So first off, I want to thank you and the Adria Future Forum for having me today. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you. What a great accomplishment it is. You are exercising Montenegro's power to convene and seeing some of the biggest, most successful companies in the world, some of the best developers in the world here today, some of the strongest conveners, Richard Atias. This is a tremendous win for Montenegro in and of itself, and to put its best foot forward. But before I go into EXIM, and I'm happy to do so, perhaps it'd be interesting, hearing the story of how you and I met and how we've been working together for so long. So September 2020, I get a phone call saying I have to call this Milojko Spajić guy immediately. And very quickly, I think you and I realized that although we were born very different places, spent most of our lives at different ends of the globe, that we shared a lot in common. And there was a sense of urgency to help our countries. You at the time had literally bought a one-way ticket back to Montenegro, have made a tremendous sacrifice. And knowing you the way I do for so long, I could say that making sure Montenegro is successful, prosperous, and secure, and assuring that that's built on a strong foundation of a good relationship with the United States is at the center of it. But you said the magic word, vision. And I want to come back to that, because what's always impressed me about your view and your aspiration for Montenegro is your uppercase V vision you have for it. But we'll come back to that. So Export-Import Bank of the United States. You and I met when we were first going into government for the first time in our careers. I'm a repeat offender, so I'm back again too. But I was fortunate enough to serve President Trump in his first administration. I opened up DFC's first ever office outside the United States. I did so in this region. It's my family's ancestral home. I'm fortunate enough to share a lot of cultural and heritage ties, which I know we'll talk about. But when the president got reelected, and I was fortunate enough to sit across from him at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, and Elon Musk sat next to me, and it was just a very surreal moment for me. And he asked me what I wanted to do. And I told him I wanted to be chairman of the Export-Import Bank. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he asked a very good question. Why? And I said, Mr. President, you have an institution, 92 years old, at that time 91 years, that you deserve to be as powerful, as capable, and to be a cutting-edge economic tool to deliver on your agenda here in the United States and all over the world. And I outlined 4 strategic priorities, and we came to an agreement. And so number 1, I said I wanted to bring the bank back to basics. So President Franklin Roosevelt started the bank in 1934 to help the United States recover from the Great Depression. And he said, in order to create more jobs in America, we have to build opportunities for US companies all around the globe. So I said, we want to do that again. And again, we want to do it in a way that puts America's best foot forward. We don't have to be the cheapest. We don't have to pay bribes. We don't have to employ labor in ways that is unbecoming and unjust. We just have to show up and show up consistently. And so that's number 1. Number 2 is energy dominance, energy leadership, energy security. How do we become the bank that helps bring American molecules and technologies to every corner of the globe? Number 3, supply chain security. We've all become over-reliant on supply chains that aren't free, they aren't fair, and they aren't functioning. It's not your fault, it's our fault. But how can we solve that problem together? And I think we'll talk a little bit about that. And number 4, and we talked about this last night at dinner extensively, how do we work with our allies to make sure that we win in the industries of the future? Whether it's artificial intelligence, dual-use technologies. It's very important that we shape these industries, because they're going to not just define the 21st century, but it's really going to define the future of mankind. EXIM. Today here in the region, we see tremendous opportunity across energy and supply chain security more broadly. I'm sure we could talk about that. But also, I think it's worth coming back to your vision and the foundation of a strong relationship with the United States. I think it's a wise bet. It's a wise bet at the perfect time. And so it's our sincerest hope that we achieve the intergovernmental agreement, the G to G, as people call it. I think it's important that we do so in a transparent way, because that's the American way, to ensure that not just everybody in this audience, but that every person on the street both understands why it's important, understands what's in it, and feels the benefit of it, and that we do so in a way that defines your vision for how you continue to not just deliver for your people, but also deliver in your partnership to NATO, continue to advance and front run on your EU path, and also continue to be a great partner of the United States.
Thank you. And just sort of a follow-up question, because you've outlined the 4 pillars. Where do you see opportunities for the region? What would you say, in what areas do you see first mover advantage for Montenegro, for example?
It's no secret. I believe it, especially in this environment, it's energy security and supply chain security. And those are areas that really define President Trump's diplomatic approach, which is how do we find ways to both benefit and both solve problems together while we both advance together? And so with regards to energy security, I believe there continue to be great opportunities to bring American energy molecules to the region, to help bring about security of supply, but also cleanse the oftentimes malign influence that comes with other molecules. And I think number 2 is we all grapple with supply chain security and what that means. It's something that countries large and small, companies large and small grapple with. And I think over the course of the past 25 years, we've made a lot of bad decisions. And each one of them looked very logical. They made sense individually. But when you zoom out, it was really poor policy. And what seemed like financial efficiency at the time has brought about operational and supply chain vulnerability. And so I think we could work with the region, with Montenegro, as a great starting point to help solve that.
And Prime Minister, how do you make sure you're ready when EXIM's tools are at disposal? Bankable projects, right frameworks, right permitting speed. How much has the government done on that front?
That is absolutely biggest. That is a great question, and that's a great distinguishing point of Montenegro with other countries, and that could be one. Being a small system, being a small country, can be in terms of the market size disadvantage, but in some other terms, like speed of administration, could be an advantage. So obviously, that was not the case in the past. Always the case in the past, but now it's increasingly becoming so. And this is exactly what we are trying to achieve, to become a truly pro-business environment. Secondly, I would just like to build upon on the IGA that we are preparing with the United States. I think we started off like, I remember in 2021 with economic dialogue back then. It was like called the shape and form that it was just the initial push when I was a Minister of Finance. And it was an idea, vague idea, how do we shape and how do we have more United States in Montenegro? But that idea was lingering around, but now it got the shape, the right shape. We got really strong support from both sides. And I think this could be the biggest moment of Montenegro-United States relations history. And if we, as John said, we're going to do it at the highest levels of transparency, of international standards. And this is going to be a way to invite the best companies out of United States and to showcase the beauties that you talked about of Montenegro, but also within the institutional framework that they're accustomed to. They understand very well. So that is the bridge that was necessary for all of these years for many big companies from the United States. By my corporate background is in terms of the corporate world, I come from the heart of the US corporate world. And understanding that side and knowing how much potential is there and how much potential is in collaboration between the two sides. But, for years, not being able to do much was sort of frustrating to me. And so I'm really grateful that we are seeing finally this really strong push towards this IGA, seeing the real shape and getting done hopefully this year.
This year. Excellent. I mean, John, you've referred to your background. You carry region in your name.
It's hard to hide. There's no confusion,
It's
right?
hard, exactly. And your career also was, you had roles that were linked to the region. Perhaps you could tell us, I mean, what does it mean for you personally to be here and to be able to engage with the region, but also, I think, back to where do you see opportunities, and what are the messages that you'd like this audience to take away with them about work that could be done with EXIM?
You know, I was so lucky as a child because I live and embody the American dream at every level. And I'm an American as they come. But I grew up with a very strong, big cultural and family foundation. I grew up in the church. I grew up speaking our language. I grew up with a very strong culture. I grew up with the epic poetry of Niegos, which I could recite to you. It's been beaten into me, right? But you know, at the time I didn't appreciate it, but now it gives me a whole new lens on the world. And I'll never forget when I met my wife the third day of university. And so I remember when she came to our house for the first time for Easter with my parents and my big family, she said, "Why is everyone yelling?" I said, "They're just talking. What do you mean?" It's great." But on a serious note, you know, being back here, especially now with 4 children of our own, seeing where parts of my DNA pop up in them and their personalities and their spirit and their height and their other things. It's something my wife reminds me of, but it's not necessarily looking back, but it's really looking forward. And what's so wonderful, especially being back in Montenegro, where I have strong ancestral roots, is the bright future that I think your vision and together with a strong partnership with the United States can deliver. And you're right. You know, many people think that having 650,000 people, give or take, is somehow a disadvantage. I think it's a tremendous advantage. I think you have such a tremendous opportunity to continue to deliver a better quality of life every single day, to continue to navigate. You know, these are turbulent times that we're living in. I think we spoke about this last night. And I said, you know, President Trump is courageously tackling some of the biggest problems the world has ever seen. And I said this last night, and I'll say it again here. Problems aren't wine. They don't get better with time. And doing this together with partners like you who are willing to come along, I really think the best days are ahead. And God willing, I hope to be here to help, but also I look forward to seeing them with you.
Thank you. And I mean, you know, back to the vision message and Prime Minister on your side, what is the main transformation you'd like to see by the end of this decade? What would be the ultimate, if we were to sit here in who knows which capacities in 5 years' time, what would you like to be able to say Montenegro's achieved?
So, you know, I think as a lot of our friends are trying to compare Montenegro to the various regions of the world, various countries, various successful cases, and saying, you know, Montenegro is Singapore of Europe or Switzerland of the Balkans. That's what I did as well in my Prime Minister speech. I would like us to be that kind of a country for somebody else.
Yeah.
That somebody says, you know, we are
like
Montenegro of Asia, we are
Excellent.
Montenegro of Africa, we are Montenegro of South America. So this is the position that I would like to see us in by end of this decade. And I think it's, for whatever it's worth, I think a lot of people don't believe, it's not easy to believe in a better and brighter future, especially for the people who have seen terrible times in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, like my parents' generation, they had, you know, relatively good life in 1989 and, you know, stable income, stable environment, etc. All of a sudden, everything disappeared with war, with hyperinflation, with horrible political leadership and, you know, dictatorships and all kinds of things going on back then, right? So 90s is a big trauma to our people. And basically, a lot of people, because of the 90s, were unable to understand how much potential is in the world out there, how much growth is in the world out there, how much opportunities is out there waiting for us. We need to work hard, but we can do it. And I think Montenegro really can do that. And with the friends like John and with other folks in the that were part of the panels, etc. These are the people that we really want to see invest, do business with us, and give us their confidence in the story, or in the vision that I just talked about. And I think we really can do that. Montenegro, as I said, is on the verge of joining European Union. It will be like a huge milestone for us. We want to be a 28th member by 2028. And I think this is also like another really generational dream that becomes true. So this is a point that Montenegro really can attain a level of transparency, a level of democracy, a level of rule of law, level of financial, a depth of financial markets, economic growth, and other things necessary to be equal member of European Union. But that's what we want to be. We want to contribute to EU. We want to add value to the EU.
And we were talking about it yesterday on the energy agenda. Yeah. For sure, Montenegro has that potential.
Exactly.
I mean, I really like this. I'd like Montenegro to become a metaphor for, how small, beautiful, and brilliantly successful country can be. I mean, I can see for myself, certainly, that whenever I'm in Montenegro, I have this sense that country is forward-looking, which is not necessarily the case always in the region, and one really senses that. That's in the air.
It's contagious, and I'll give you a real life data point. Is my team and I have been traveling a lot over the past few months, and I'm genuinely worried that not all of my team is going to make the plane. They want to stay here, and what you're doing is contagious. And if I had to answer the same question, I would say I'd love to look back, and I'd love to see American companies bragging about their experience here, putting up big slides up on screens like this as a positive case study, saying they came, they had very clear opportunity, they didn't have any preference or treatment, but they had a fair shot and a level playing field, that they were able to get the right permits under the right timing with the right visibility. They employed smart, dynamic, young, brilliant, beautiful young people, that they built those partnerships here, and that they made money and they came again. They did a second thing and a third thing. That American technology companies can come here and partner. That American equipment can come be here, a part of your security vision, right, which we talked about this morning. All of these things are already happening. They're attainable. Let's do them at scale, and let's do them quickly, because time is precious.
Absolutely, that's the other thing. I mean, it's a clear vision, it's a compelling vision, and it's a really, with Montenegro, momentum is there. You feel the pace. I have to say, many are impressed with the pace at which you are now advancing negotiations. I think you have a lot of allies in this room, Prime Minister. Thank you for sharing the vision, and thank you for sharing how EXIM can help implement it. Thank you all. Thank you for the attention. Please join me in thanking my speakers.